And
Hello again.
hi, Luwan. Hi, Leah. Hi, Caitlin. Hi, Glenda. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Leah. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Maxine. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Robin. Hi, Ryan. Hey, Tamara. Hi, Tracy. So glad you guys can join us today. I'm looking forward to a wonderful webinar today. Hello, Michelle. Hi, Ashley and Abby and Ms. Mendez, because I don't want to mess your name up. Hey, Emily. Got our PA people, our Pennsylvania people here. Fantastic. Super excited to be here today with you guys. Got a great presenter. I can't wait to share him with you. I'm sure you're going to enjoy him as much as I have over the years. Let's see, we still got some other people joining us. Hi, Abby. Welcome, everybody. Hi, Glenda. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tell me as you guys come in, is it cold or hot where you are? Is it nice? It's cold in Chicago. Then maybe it's nice where you are. And we're going to, all right. Let's see, should we get started? We still have some more people coming in, so we'll give like another minute or so, and then we'll go ahead and kick things off. Hey, Miss Soto. That's a different name. It's freezing in California? Well, I believe that. My first time in Cali, I took all of my nice summer clothes because I thought I was going to be like, yes, it's going to be so nice. And it was freezing. I was like, I'm never coming back to this place again. It was freezing. I had to go and buy clothes. I didn't even have a jacket because I was like, oh, it's nice in California. It's always hot in sunny California. Or no, it never rains in something, whatever.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's
it was
it.
a lie.
It never rains.
It never rains.
Yeah.
I thought it was never cold, but that wasn't the case. All
Wow.
right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, welcome guys to Staying Strong and Positive for Ourselves and Our Children. This is our daily webinar. Today, we are going to talk to Brian Williams, who is going to talk to us about focus on fatherhood, the father's impact on children, youth, and family. Brian Williams is a friend of Be Strong Families. We trained him, maybe about 6-7 years ago on the Parent Cafe process. He is now one of our certified training partners, meaning he's gone through the TOT process with us. He's doing great work all over Missouri, working with families and fathers and all these great initiatives. And we're so excited to have him with us today. Welcome, Brian.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Sarita and the Be Strong family. Good to be here.
Woo-hoo!
Mm.
Thank you. It's our daily webinar crew. And a lot of these people are people who are with us every day. All right, Jahar, we can go to the next one. So, of course, we have our ways to engage. If you aren't talking, please put your phone on mute. When you're ready to comment, you can raise your hand and we'll unmute you. If you want to share, because during today's presentation, Brian's going to, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat or you can raise your hand and we will allow you to speak. You guys know the deal. We'll allow you to unmute and be heard if you rather do that instead of putting your question in the chat, okay? Please be patient with us. And when you're putting things in the chat, make sure this is going to all panels and attendees and not just to the panelists, okay? Thanks, Jahira. Of course, you know that we have these wonderful agreements and I see you guys already agreeing. That's why I love you all. Agreements, speak from your own experience, use I statements as you share, just so we can continue to keep this space safe. We're really, that's really important for us. And then the golden rule, treat other people the way you want to be treated. And then of course, full presence, please, no multitasking. Be fully present so you can get the most out of today's presentation and you can leave today's presentation feeling like, yes, that was great. I needed that. if you're gonna spend your lunch somewhere and you spend it with us, you might as well really enjoy it. Take a load off and enjoy this wonderful presentation today. Thank you everybody for agreeing to keep the space safe, and welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm gonna turn it over to Brian Williams. Brian,
Great.
it's all yours.
Good, great, and good afternoon to everyone. And wow, what an honor and a privilege it is to be here, to be able to share with you about our Fatherhood project and the work that we do with fathers in the great state of Missouri. So the show me state. So our job is to show everybody this is how we do it in the great state of Missouri. Thank you, Sarita and the Be Strong family, for allowing me to share this space with you on today. It will kind of just be formal, informal. I feel like we're amongst family, and that's the best way. So I have several slides, and I'm not going to probably touch each of those. We're just going to try to make it as interactive as possible. So having said that, I think I'm going to already go off a little bit of my plan. So here's what I want to do to make sure you're accustomed with the chat, which I can see a lot have already chatted. I know a lot of you probably, I guess I'm making a general assumption, have heard of or played in your mind along with them the Soul Train Scramble. I know Sarita has. She looks like she used to watch Soul Train all the time. She was probably doing the robot, the funky chicken, wave. I'm telling just how back the dances she used to do. She used to do the Soul Train line. I bet she could bust a move. So we're going to play the Soul Train Scramble. What I'm going to do is in the chat, I'm going to put 8 letters in the chat. And what you have to do is come up with 3 words using all 8 letters. So every word you come up with has to use all 8 letters. And the words have to pertain to fathering or fatherhood. So you can't use and have a 3-letter word or 4-letter word. You got to have an 8-letter word. And there's 3 of them, and they all relate to fatherhood. So I am going to go to the chat, put the letters in, and also what I want you to do is don't hit send yet. Once you get your words in, just hold them. And from there, when I say enter, go ahead and then hit your chat function and let your answers show up. So let me make sure I have this. I'm sending this to all panelists and attendees. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, let me do that. And I'm going to put these letters and make sure I got them right, because nothing like doing something and then it's not the right letters. N-R-T. I think I have them all. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I'm missing one. I knew that. L.
Brian, if I admit to watching Soul Train, that means I date myself. Never.
1, 2, 3, 4. All right, somehow, maybe it's 7 letters. I don't know. Maybe I missed one. I hope I didn't. I did. Okay, I missed the biggest one. Okay, here I go. All right, sorry about that for the delay, because I thought about this and I said, this would just be something fun to do. All right, so I'm going to put the letters there and give you just a few to come up with 3 words pertaining to fathering or fatherhood. But it's got to be 3 8-letter words. And as I said, do not hit enter yet until I say enter, and we'll see who comes up with the Soul Train. So I was going to try to find that music to Soul Train.
3 8-letter words.
Yep. Do 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 do. Soul Train. But doing the Soul Train Scramble, they always have some other person doing it. And normally the guy can never get it. It's always a lady with them who has to tell them. So the man never did figure out the word. The woman always knew the name of the group or the name of the thing, but the man, but then they went off and did the bump.
Wait, Ryan, I'm all like, it has to be an 8-letter word from these letters you gave us?
Yeah.
And then don't hit enter yet? Okay.
No, not yet. Soul Train Scramble. Let me see what we was listening to.
Soul Train Scramble. This is so exciting. I don't know what I'm doing.
Back then on Soul Train. I want you back. Yeah. I want you back. Oh, I love those old school songs. I grew up on all those songs. So I'll give you just a few more. I'm just trying to make sure you're woke and test you. And Sarita, how many have you got yet? Zero?
No, I thought I had one, but it wasn't 8 letters. So I was like, dang it.
Yeah, I know when I did this at a conference, it really was the highlight of a conference. They didn't want to stop. And they let me go over 20 minutes. I'm not asking that today because of this. All right, I'll give you about 30 more seconds and then
Oh
we'll
no. I'm really good at stuff like this, but I am
but
like,
I stunned you. Uh-oh.
you did, and it has to be dad related.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You know what? I guess I ought to put the words in so that when you do it. All right.
Man, I'm calling you for these words right after this.
I'm
Too. I'm
very
writing
close
this
to them.
down. You're gonna put them in.
I'm
Okay,
very,
you're gonna tell us when to hit enter.
okay, because I'm gonna hit enter at the same time. And and I hope these words are all in those letters. Okay.
Wait. Somebody raised their hand.
Okay.
Do you see her, Jahira? Hey,
Yes.
Beline, you had a question? Beline, you had your hand raised. Miss Soto?
Oh, she's on mute. So.
Yeah, you have to
Looks like she
unmute
lowered
yourself.
it.
Okay.
Okay. So, okay, everybody, go ahead and hit enter and let's see what we come up with.
Oh, parental prenatal.
Look at those.
Dang.
See, it was just you.
Maternal prenatal.
You're the only one who got stunned.
Oh, prenatal, parental, paternal. Let me write this down. Are those 8? 1,
I
2,
think
3.
so. I hope so. I did.
Parental.
I think they are, but it might not. That must be. They got it. So
Emily's like me, paternal and learn and leave.
yeah. So all these words do pertain to fathers. You know, and we started our early work. Definitely paternal and parental, but I didn't think much about prenatal until I started working with the parents as teachers, and we discovered the importance of father involvement during the prenatal phase, and you know the stress that a lot of times fathers put in the relationship and how it impacted the birth. And so, but one of the amazing discoveries, like I said, I'm just kind of going off from, we learned through another that 1 year prior to conception, the mental mindset of the father was the DNA that goes into the child at conception. So a year before conception, whatever state of mind the father was in, that's the DNA that goes into conception. A lot of fathers, when they heard it, like, oh my God.
Wow.
Wow. So prenatal is so important in working with fathers. And so I just wanted to throw that kind of as an icebreaker to do something different, kind of stunt you a little bit. But a lot of you got it, so great. So we got geniuses on this webinar. Once again, my name is Brian Williams with the Focus on Fatherhood Project. We are located. Am I moving my screen, or will you all be moving it?
Jahira's gonna move it. Just tell her next.
Go ahead and go to the next one. So we are, and I just want to geographically, since we got people from all over the United States, I am from Missouri, kind of northeast, north central. If you heard of Columbia, where the University of Missouri is at, that's our primary location. Some call us, as I said, northeast, some say north central. So, but we're just 30 miles north of Columbia, University of Missouri. Not a large county, only cover 483 square miles and a total population of about 25,000, slightly over 25,000. And the other outcomes, we do have a lot of poverty. And I did just wanted to state that and show that we have a lot of poverty. So you can go to the next slide, please. So with the Caring Community Partnership, we've been around for over 20 some years. I've been with the entity for almost a little over, well, it is 20 years. It happened in January. Been the executive director for about 13 of those years. Started out with a 2-person operation, and now we have about 25 staff as we've grown over the years. We work and strive to get these 6 core results. They kind of call them results or programs, but really the core results, outcomes. Children, healthy children and families, what we've learned over the years, the healthier dad is, the healthier the child. So we really promote things to help get dad healthy. Children and families safe. It's big for fathers being around as that, quote, protector, as they say. But making sure they're safe in their neighborhood, that they can go outside and play like I was able to do when I was a kid. Mostly kids stay shut up and they don't they don't come out, but we want them to feel safe in their neighborhood. Young children ready to enter school, being prepared when it's time to enter kindergarten, that they're prepared, they've been exposed to social interactions, they've been educational. Dad has done his part in the nurturing that, I believe it's either 3 or 5 years of age. I get them confused, but they say, children need to be exposed to 30 million words by then. And so it's very important for dads to be involved in that process and reading to their child, especially because mom normally talks in baby talk, goo goo gaga. Dads normally just talk like they're talking to a little person, helps develop the kids' language registry. So dad being there all time is important, but that first 7 years from birth to 7 years old is so important because you can't go back and get that. So we really promote dad being there so children are ready to enter and be successful, which is the next one. Once they get into school, succeeding in school, we really promote dad being involved. Me and one of our partner agencies in Marshall, Powerhouse Community Development, we have done like a Dad's Take Your Child to School Day. Very successful event to see the smile on those kids walking in with their dad and dads coming in. We had them stay and we did a little short program. Marshall, they was able to give away a raffle with football tickets and all kind of good things. The only regret that I have, and we didn't plan it, was that the sorrow that was on the children who didn't have a father available to walk them in. So if we do it again, we're going to try to partner with the school and some men in the area who would give us 30 minutes of their time, who would be there to walk that child. I think it's important that every child should have some male figure walk them into that school so they can experience that same joy as the others. So I don't really, the impact that may have had on those children for the rest of the day, those who didn't have their father, but we want children to succeed, and dad needs to be involved, going to the parent-teachers conferences and all that stuff. Youth ready to enter into productive adulthood, being prepared, whether they're going on to college, post-secondary, or going into their career, ready and prepared for that. So that's one of our outcomes. And then the last one is helping parents become self-sufficient so that they can take care of the needs of the family. So that's our 6 core results. And you can go to the next slide, please. So talking at the beginning, I talked about the Focus on Fatherhood project, which is our local project that started out as wanting to be a support group for about 8 or 10 fathers that kept growing and growing. We started getting more entities throughout the state wanting to do fatherhood. So we developed the Focus on Fatherhood Network. It became a 501c3, and it was just responsible for training these agencies, a lot of faith-based agencies. And you can see our mission was to enhance the capacity of service providers throughout the region. So we have connections throughout the state of Missouri and other states within the United States. So didn't think that was, the original plan, but that's how it unfolded. So we now have this Focus on Fatherhood Network. So you can go to the next slide, please. And our strategic development areas is the big one, training and professional development. We trained a lot on curriculum, encouraged a lot along with, getting involved. Some of our groups, Sarita even trained some of our men. When I got trained on the Parent Cafe process, those were a lot of our fatherhood groups that we worked. I think we had a group from Kansas City that was a part of that. Program development, because it's not a one-size-fit-all. Some only wanted to do curriculum, some only cafes. Whatever it fits, we try to help them figure it out. And then the big one was leadership development, helping them to be visionary, and then working with our dads with advocacy and policy. And then we have, through this work, as I said, we started out local. We are now regional and national connections, and working on some global connections, which is just amazing to think we started out local and now we're talking to global partners about fatherhood. I would have never thought it in my wildest dream. What a blessing. So you can go to the next slide. So today we want to talk about father's impact on children, youth, and families. We're going to discuss the 20 critical areas which fathers impact the lives of their children. And in addition, we're going to talk about the hierarchy of healthy father involvement. I think we shared this before. And as it relates to these 4 key areas: child well-being, gender equity, community development, and very key is men's development. Our premise is that it's hard for you to be, the father you want to be until you have become the man you want to be. You should develop as the man and learn responsibility. And then in fatherhood, you can learn accountability, where you can be responsible for you and your family. So big push on men's development. So if you could go to the next slide, please. Excuse me. So this particular presentation is a part of the Advanced Fatherhood Practitioner Credentialing through the Fathers and Family Coalition of America. I am on their board, and we have been pushing this credentialing. And what it is to help frontline workers who work with families, because we always say, you can't say I work with the family and not work with the father. Even though a lot of times the work is with the mother, if you have a program and you have the name family, that implies the father should be a part of that. But a lot of the programs we notice, a lot of that work isn't with the father. A lot of times it's just, how do we begin to work with the father? So this practitioner training came about, this credentialing, to help frontline workers better understand how to work with fathers. It helped us out tremendously. Even though we were men working with men, we still struggle to a degree on how to work with that man as a father. So this credentialing is perfect. We've been through it several times. We brought it to our state of Missouri, to St. Louis and Kansas City. I think we've credentialed about 70 people. And we are looking at kind of a Midwest regional, which would include Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, to bring the training to those states. And now that we can do it virtually with the Fathers and Families Coalition, my good friend, Dr. James Rodriguez, we're looking forward to hopefully this year bringing that training back to the Midwest. Like I said, this is a university level. It's been taught at USC, School of Social Work, and other universities, Arizona and some others. And now, and part of that global is that I believe the University of China in Peking and some others, Australia, UK, they're saying, hey, we want this, and countries like Nigeria. So what an impact of this particular training, and we have it right here in our backyard. So we would encourage everyone, if you want to know more information, you can go to the Fathers and Family website. I don't have it, but if you Google it, you'll see that information and some other leadership. So next, I do want to say this in. So hopefully I want to get these three words in: the passion, purpose, and practice. So this is what we hope to cultivate even in you today, to renew your passion in working with fathers, even though they are hard to work with, audience your purpose, and then implement some of these techniques in your practice. Okay, you can go to the next slide, which I think is probably a little bit more about the credentialing program. So this is just some of the areas it covers. You'll see it on the website when you go, so you can go ahead and go to the next slide. Thank you. So getting into some of this, and this is probably preaching to the choir, but we always like to validate it with the data, the statistics. Only 64% of children in the US live with both of their parents. And so that's not the greatest number, but it's not a bad number. I mean, it could be better. It's just, we would love to see 100%, but we know that's not possible. But 64, kind of like my one brother said, he walked in the room and the lady said, well, hello, tall, dark, and well, 2 out of 3 is not bad. So 64% is like 2 out of 3. So he's tall and dark, but he didn't make the handsome. So, but 66% or 64 is pretty good. But we see the other statistic: over 90% of unmarried fathers are present at the child's birth or visit while the mother and the newborn are in the hospital. So they're initially engaged. Hopefully that prenatal phase, that first part. And for a lot of them, if it's their first child, it's kind of like that, they walk around with the chest stuck out and they're really happy and excited. I noticed that when we were at the health department in the same building. They were coming to the initial appointments with mom. They were coming to, if some were on like the WIC program, but I did notice over time, they started fading away. They just like, where's that father at? Where's that dad at? They just kind of faded out of the picture, but they were initially there. By the time the children are 5 years old, 50% of the fathers still have some kind of contact with the children, which still, once again, isn't bad, but we would really love to see that number even more. But then by the time children are like 9 years old, 20% of non-resident fathers spend some time. So you can see the numbers keep going down. We need to figure out, how do we keep dad involved? How does he stay involved? That same excitement that he had. And a lot of that is relationship, how to build proper relationship. Even if you and mom aren't in relationship, you still need to co-parent your child. So we try to share with dads way that you could stay involved and in a healthy way co-parent the child. And then the last statistic, 67% of Black fathers don't live with their children, and then 59% of white fathers don't live with their children. So, we have this issue, father, we are dealing with and take this in the way I'm saying it. COVID is probably the worst pandemic that we could face or we have faced, but father absent, fatherlessness is a almost a pandemic in itself. And that if we can address that over time and do better at it and get fathers involved and stayed involved in the lives of their children, some of the things that our children deal with and face, they wouldn't have those issues and problems just by simply having dad staying involved. So we've got work to do. What a great opportunity that it creates. So you could go, thank you, to the next slide if you would. So these are some more statistics about the perceived threats to children in America. 64%, physical and emotional threats, where there's child abuse or, verbally or physically, that 64%, my slide. Oh, I took that animation, I took that timing out and it went back in. That is crazy. Well, I guess I won't share that slide with you. I took all that out. I don't know how that animation came back in, but anyway, so we'll go to this slide. It must be meant for me to share this one, but these are just some more statistics about fatherless children are dramatically greater at risk for suicide. We're actually doing a project now on gun suicide, but looking at suicide in general, I believe the statistics show that maybe 80% of youth that commit suicide come from fatherless homes. It's the same, that ties into that living in single parent home doubles the risk of that a child will suffer physical, emotional, and educational neglect. Just ties in with, why probably potential for suicide. Teens without fathers was twice as likely to be involved in early sexual activity and 7 times more likely to get pregnant. So when we first started fatherhood, we thought about our boys need their fathers. Then we realized, wait a minute, the girls need them just as much. And what we learned, especially around this topic, is that if you could delay the onset of sexual activity between the ages of 11 and 14, the likelihood of them becoming involved reduces dramatically. But a lot of that is having dad around to kind of guide her, to let her know that young girl that she's loved in a proper way. So if she's not, she goes out probably looking for that. And unfortunately, we say there's 2 ways to learn, nature or nurture. So we want dads to be there to nurture so you don't have to learn about what's out on the street. Youth in homes without a father had a significant higher odds of incarceration. I think that's another high 70 to 80% of youth that are incarcerated because their father wasn't there, or we are seeing a generational repeat. We had one time in our program, the grandfather was in prison, the father, his son, the father was in, and the grandson and grandsons, all of them were in prison at the same time. How do you break that, as I call it, addictive cycle of failure for that particular family? Because that was generational, because that's all they saw and that's all they knew. And that's all they kind of look forward to. And so I would imagine we were trying to say, look, those grandsons, the sons that you're having, we don't want them to follow in that pattern. We need to change this. We need to break this trend and trajectory. And then fatherless children are almost 75% as likely to drop out of school. Boys, cognitively, at going into 3rd grade, even though they can't make up in their mind, they're going to drop out of school because they're behind in comprehension. They can do math at first, 2 + 3 is 5, but then when it says Johnny has 2 apples and Sally has 3 apples, how many apples do they have together? He can't do the reading comprehension. So he doesn't want his classmates to know that, so he'll drop out in his mind. So from 3rd grade, he's already thinking, I'm done with school. A lot of states, unfortunately, determine how many prison beds they need by the number of 2nd grade boys that fail. That shouldn't be. We should be able to intervene and do something then. And then it kind of has the last one. I can't, the 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls are something. I can't remember what that particular one, I can't see the slide. So you can go ahead and go to the next one and we'll go to. So here's the hierarchy of father involvement. I think you may have to click, there we go. 3 levels, and we shared this before. How do you achieve father awareness? That the father's important. We want them to know, because we deal a lot with single parent homes, mom who's doing all this. And sometimes, sometimes they're like, well, why do I need a man? Why do you need a father? He is important. So we have to promote father awareness and then father friendliness. Our office, we try to, and I'll share the resource later, have brochures, posters that when they walk into the office, they see a poster with dads in it. You know, something might say, have you been a great dad today? Brochures about different levels of fatherhood, single parenting, married, military, incarcerated, all kind of brochures that we have that we try to give out to let the father know, and then achieve father inclusiveness, make them feel like they're a part. So here's something simple that we're working on, and with dads, and we learned this even in the Dads Cafe, coffee. Dads don't require a lot. Coffee, I noticed that one time I was watching my case managers and they had a dad in the office, and boy, they were really enjoying their cup of coffee. But dad didn't have one. And I kind of like noticed that and kind of just was in my mind like, well, why didn't dad have a cup of coffee? You're enjoying it. So once we got a new coffee thing put in our break room, we took those old coffee pots that we had and put them right in front of the fatherhood office. So the process should be like this. When dad first comes in the first couple of times, we should ask him, hey, would you like a cup of coffee? And if he says yes, it would be the job of our case managers to get up and to serve dad. It's kind of like our dads of dignity, restoring dignity, because dad's probably been beat up, you know, so let's serve him. Let him make him feel like he's the king of the throne that day. Now, after a while, he keeps coming in. You ask, hey, Joe, do you want a cup of coffee? Well, I guess I call it a cup of Joe. There we go. That's a good one. Then we say, hey, go, you can go out there and fix it. You can serve yourself. You know how you want it. But he knows he's welcome to do it himself. Then we get to that inclusiveness or this next level of when dad's coming in on his way into the office. Go ahead and stop and get you a cup of coffee. You don't even have to ask anymore. You know, he automatically knows to get him coffee. There's no question about it. But here's the key is when we can get dad, when he goes to the grocery store and he sees some coffee, the kind that we use, he buys that coffee and brings it in and say, hey, look, I bought this in for us to have for the dads. He's inclusive. He feels like he's a part because he's not only about him, he's seeing the other fathers. And so coffee is something really simple that we definitely have to have at Dad's Cafe. You know, those days when there may be a little snackaroo or two out there, some donuts or cookies, dads really love that. But just simply serving dad, you know, first of all, when they come and serve them, let them learn to serve themselves. Then let them know, hey, you're welcome. You don't even have to ask. You're part of our family. Get it yourself. But man, when you can get them to the point where they bring in the coffee, wow, they feel included. They feel that they are part. So something simple like coffee can do a big trick within your program. So you can go to the next slide. So I call this is my own because one of my favorite things that my mom, who's 93 years old, bakes for me every October 30th on my birthday is a banana pie. And I don't know if anybody else loves banana pie, but man, I don't share it with nobody. I eat the whole pie. None of my kids, my wife, nobody gets a slice of that pie. I kind of time it out. Okay, I'm gonna eat this slice in the morning. I'll do this one tonight. So I time out when I'm gonna eat my pie. But so I use this acronym of PIE because this is one of my favorite. I'm gonna give me a logo or something with a banana pie to go along with this eventually. But here was our challenge. It might be yours. How do you first of all just get dad to participate? You know, we were watching programs when we were at the health department. There was a family program, and I went down the hall and I saw these men sitting down the hallway. I'm like, I wonder what they're doing. Well, it was a family program, and mom was inside in the program, and dad was sitting down in the hall in a chair waiting. And I'm like, something's wrong with that picture. So, but then when I talked to the agency, and they said, we just can't get him to participate. We don't even know how to get him to come through the door. So that started, and that was us. Dad's Cafe has been defined for us. This is how we get dads to participate because we do a curriculum that's 12 to 16 weeks. That's long. Dad can't comprehend 16 weeks. Oh my God, I can't do 16 weeks. But they can commit to 3 weeks of a Dad's Cafe for 2 hours as we have it designed. And this is based upon when we were doing it more in person. But that's a great way to get dads to participate because they come to the table. They bring what I call the X factor, the EX factor. They are the expert with the experience. And that's all we use that for is, you know, dad, you're the expert. Bring your experience and share it. Great way to get dads to participate because nobody's lecturing them, telling them how to be a better father. It's the initial way we get dads. And once we get them open in the Dad's Cafe, it's easy to work with them with our curriculum. I have seen more dads become emotional in a Dad's Cafe way further than I have seen moms in a mom's cafe or even in a parent's cafe. Dads get emotional because finally they've got a safe atmosphere to release that. And so if you can get dads and do a Dad's Cafe, we're there, because Parents Cafe, I love them, they're great, but we've noticed when dad does come with mom, the first one, mom was looking at him, and dad just kind of reluctant to talk because he's like, man, I want to sleep on the couch tonight. So he's not saying much. But when you get them at a Dad's Cafe around other dads, man, they open up the floodgates. And so that's a great way to get them to participate. You get them involved because that first part, they're not really knowing and talking much, but then they start getting involved. They start opening up and realize, oh, wait, I'm not the only dad here on this Gilligan's Island, can't get off. These other dads are dealing with the same thing. And then when you get them engaged, and this is how I know in the Dad's Cafe they're engaged, because we come in and they're like, hey, skip those preliminaries. We understand the agreements. We understand this. Let's get to the table and talk. I'm ready to talk. That's when you know they are engaged in the process. So that Dad's Cafe is a great practice to get dads to participate, to get them involved, and eventually get them engaged, where the other level of that is where they become host and co-host. And at its best, we're working to get our cafes where it's all done by dads, that we don't have any level of involvement at all, but just some support roles. So this key, the 3Ds, design, development, and delivery. You see, I'm good on words like practice, passion, purpose, practice, design, development, delivery. You got to think these things through. Okay, next slide. So we're going to really get into the meat of this, the father's impact on children, youth, and family. You can go to the next slide. We're going to look at these 20 critical areas. I'm not going to really elaborate a whole lot on each of the areas because of time, but I call the first ones the developmental side. And once again, this is just critical. This is the impact that dad has, and sometimes he doesn't even realize. I think if we can get more dads to really realize the impact, because what's promoted is the negative impact that happens when dad's not there, but we need to be able to promote the strength-based side of this and say, Dad, but when you are, and I don't know how my thing is doing that again. I don't know if you can go back. Oh, this is crazy. I don't know how that animation, that wasn't in there before. I don't know. Wow, I hope the slide, I don't know how to get it to stay up. It's probably going to pop off again. You might have to keep, unfortunately, pulling it back up. Intellectual development, just helping them reading. I didn't know the importance of dad reading. As I said, I learned that. When my kids were coming up, my wife would read. I was in there watching Michael Jordan. Glad, hey, go back in there with your mom. Get that little small rectangle book and you all go back there. I'm watching Michael Jordan. Emotional and social development, we understand, understanding how to help, especially boys develop differently and girls. A lot of that is with their language registry. Girls, my daughter, I noticed, is almost like me today. She could flow, she could talk. My boys, what's wrong? What's wrong? All they could do is hug. They couldn't articulate it. And so, but they were hurt. But they didn't know how to say I'm hurt or I'm angry. They could only show it through an emotion. And so it was important that dads be there to help them to express that. Or even when they went outside and played, you go outside and play and then you get hurt out there. Generally, you come to dad, he's going to say, unfortunately, all right, you're okay, go back out there. But mom is going to do just like we did with my grandson the other day when he hurt his finger. I knew what to do, but I was going to watch her because my wife, she knows it all. So and she's trained to, especially after she trained with Sarita as a parent cafe, she really knows it all now. So she just knew. So I just watched her when he hurt his hand, and he came to me and I did like a typical dad or granddad. Oh, you're okay. You'll be all right. All right, go over to, she's like, well, come to Nana. And Nana kind of kissed it. And he still hollered a little bit. And I said, all right, come over here to Paw. I took out a little alcohol Band-Aid that I had there, rubbed it on him. Oh, he just thought that was the world. And I told her, I said, see, I know what to do. You thought you knew. But he liked that little, now he's getting into the little alcohol box all the time. So I created something. But that development, helping them and develop socially, and being around family, kids, and others. Ethical, just teaching them what to do the right thing, all the time, setting that standard for them. Spiritual development, my kids, I grew up and, I was a PK, a pastor's kid. So I grew up new in church, and so we put that into our children. But one of the unique things was prayer. We used to, we taught our kids how to pray. So before food, they all knew the prayers. They could do it. But before they would go to school, we would circle up and pray. Hope you have a good day at school. Protect us and yada. And one day we were running late. And I was like pushing them, hurry up, you got to get to the bus, get to the bus. And they just stood in the front room. I'm like, would you leave and get to the bus? They wouldn't move. And I'm like, what is going on with these kids? And then my daughter said, Daddy, we haven't prayed yet. So they were ingrained in that themselves to know to pray. Even I was trying to get them out the door and not pray that day, but they wasn't going to leave that house without prayer because they knew it themselves. So that was just a part of that spiritual development. And so physical development, ages and stages, knowing what they can and can't do, helping them develop physically and do things. And, my grandson's trying to jump off of chairs and all that kind of stuff and catching them. And it's all that stuff. And career development probably comes later. I do notice my daughter, who's 30, who is now LCSW and starting her own business. She still asks me a lot of career development. I used to try to give her what she should do. Now she just needs a lot of affirmation, even at age 30. And that's what I tell her dads, because we ask dads to join. And somebody, oh, my kids are grown. I'm like, well, when did you stop being a dad? At what age do you stop? Because I parent probably my kids more now in their 30s maybe than I did when they were 3. They need a lot of whatever. So and like I said, my daughter's the different. She needs just a lot of affirmation with the decisions she's made. Developing responsibility. I do that with my grandson now. And put your toys up. We make a counting game out of it. Even though he's 16 months year old, he knows he can't quite count the numbers, but he knows what we're doing. So he knows he puts his toys up. Developing independence at that early age, and then that teenage where they call it autonomy, where they like to go slam the door to your house or your car. And I'm always like, wait a minute, Jack, wait a minute, Jill. They slam the door and go to their room. They need that autonomy. I didn't understand that, but I was like, look, I'm paying for this house. I'm paying, get out of my car and slam my door. Like, good day, hey, get back here. But that's that autonomy that they need. And, dads need to know how to deal with that. And then just competence, which I really call more than competence. I call it helping them develop confidence in their abilities and what they do. Sorry about that. The other ones are just other categories of leisure, fun and play. Like I said, I play with my kids, but not as much as I should. But my grandkids, I do more. I learned that more with my granddaughter. She loved to paint fingernails, and then it went to toes. Every time she would come, she would always want to paint fingernails. Oh, you're talking about reluctant the first time. I was like, yeah, can't we go paint Nana's fingernails? Papa, I want to paint your fingernails. I'm like, oh, but Nana's look prettier. So I had to give in. And so every time she comes, she would paint my fingernails. It became such a fun to her. She even got good. She went out and Nana bought her a set with glitter. So now not only did I have pink and yellow fingernails, I had them with glitter and I couldn't get it off. So, but she looked forward to that fun play. And that was her thing. I'm like, the toes are fine. But you know what, to be honest, I found that pretty therapeutic. Her just doing that to my fingers. I think I went to sleep a couple of times. She was so good at it. So it was really therapeutic, just her doing that. But she had fun doing it. Most men think this one, number 12, is them providing income. We need to do that. But sharing activities and interests. My grandson loves to, I call it meddle, but it's actually exploring. When I'm on my computer, he likes to reach up and take the mouse and run or do something. So what I did is just set him up. I had an extra keyboard. I set him up on a little table right beside me. And I'm like, okay, you're at work today, Pawpaw's helper. I need you to type this up for me. So he had his own keyboard to bang. Well, even though he do it and everything else, but just share the activity with them. Mentoring, teaching, when you combine both of that ends up in modeling. We need to do more modeling than mentoring. I grew up going to school and they had this thing called show and tell. We call modeling tell and show. Tell them, but show them, and not just show and tell. Caregiving, being there. I think one of the funnest things I do now is daily when I'm giving my grandson his bath and playing around with him and making games and doing all of that. He loves it when Pawpaw, who cannot, because his hair is just all over the place, looks like that hairstyle they're wearing now. But he loves when Paw brushes his hair. I don't know what kind of style I'm giving him, but he loves it. He goes, hey, Paw, he grabs the brush. But just that caregiving, being protective is one of the things our men think mostly about, to be there and we want you. Advising, like I said, I think it's probably more that older age. I'm doing that more with my daughter. But here's what I'm learning with my sons, and because I've always, and I still have a father-son relationship, but because my sons are fathering, I'm working on a concept called fathering fathers. So I communicate to them now, not as my son, but them as a father. So it changes and challenges me the way I have to approach them, because it used to be that, boy, you know better, you need to do this, take care of that, that type. It's more talking about responsibility, and this is the foundation you're showing your child. So this concept of fathering fathers I'm working on with my own 3 sons, and how I even communicate differently with them. And yes, you are my son, and we have a father-son relationship, but now as important, we have a father-father relationship. And I'm starting to see it change my sons becoming more and taking that responsibility that I couldn't get them to do when I communicated with them as a son. So I'm really working on that. Hopefully we'll get that down and can share more about that. Discipline, which most fathers think that's what we do. I didn't go to parent teachers conference because I had one son that I didn't want to hear as a teacher, because she was going to tell me all the things that boy did. And me, I wanted to probably get him then. I grew up, they have a thing now called No Child Left Behind. I grew up under No Behind Left on the Child. I don't know if we grew up under that philosophy. They probably would call it now child abuse. But everybody in my community could correct us. So if you did something if you did something stupid, you better be like the next house. Because if you was 8 houses down, every house seemed like everybody came out and got a piece of you. Boy, you knew better than that. And so we grew up under, but I thank God for No Behind Left on the Child, because it's made me to who I am now. There's some different strategies now, No Child Left Behind is, what we're working on, but it didn't hurt me. But that was kind of the discipline. But now I'm learning new techniques of discipline. And I know that Sarita probably was a very whatever. I know she got in trouble all the time. So, and so moving, school and homework, some dads it's tough because they didn't graduate or have the best school experience. And now with things being virtual, it's even tougher. But, to the extent that you can, Dad, at least show interest and make sure they're getting their things done. Okay, moving right along, companionship. Like I said, my grandson, I always refer to him as Pawpaw's little buddy. I got his song. His name is Cairo, so I sing him the Cairo song, put him to sleep. He just loves to crawl up and hear me sing the Cairo. I'm all off key, off tune, but it's his song, and that's how we buddy. So if you go to the next slide, this is the other component we want, and then we're close to being done. Child well-being is so important. Fathers matter because the healthier the dad, the healthier child. So it's not just well-being, it's wellness and welfare that we promote among our the better you all in these areas, the better the child will be as well. Gender equity really promotes this one simple message. The role of the father is just as important as the role of the mother. And I know sometimes that's hard for moms, single moms who've done it. And I understand, we honor them and let them know we appreciate, but there's just some things that dad needs to be there to share. I know one of my guys, he wrote a fatherhood book. I didn't even realize, this man in his 70s, we never even realized that he didn't grow up with his father. And he wrote a fatherhood book. And one of the things he shared was that when he went to school in kindergarten, I think some of the other boys laughed at him because he did something that, forgive me for sharing it like this, but when he went in to use the restroom, all he knew was to sit on the stool. He was never taught to stand. While some of the other boys knew to stand, all he knew was to sit, because that's all his mom could teach him. So something simple like that, he said, not having a father around to teach him even something like that, how he was embarrassed because the other boys laughed at him. But gender equity, there is a great role for father. Community development is how the community accepts dads as assets. We deal with a lot of dads coming through the system, and we're working on a project now where dads are viewed as not unprofitable, but we want them to realize that they are profitable to the community, that they can give back. So we do a parent leadership where dads now are learning to go to city council meetings, advocate for their family. So we like that. And the other I already hit, men's development. We believe men need to go through the hoods, malehood, boyhood, manhood, and then fatherhood. And then there's kind of that elderhood. A lot of our men, unfortunately, are in fatherhood, but their mind is in boyhood. And so we try to do a thing called from toys to tools. When you're in boyhood, you can play with toys, but when you become a man, you need to put the toys down to a degree and pick up the tools and go to work. So we try to teach men there's a time where the toys are okay, but you need to pick up the tools and go to work. So we try to teach that in healthy men's development. You can go to the next slide. And so these are just some recommendations for you, and we're about closing. Whatever you do for dads, keep it simple. We call them in-risk fathers. They need to be able to address just the day-to-day survival things that they deal with when they come to the office. Just keep the process concrete and tangible. Make it simple. Like I said, the coffee. Men, when they come to the Dad's Cafe, they didn't need the tablecloths at the table, all the things on the table. We had them. They did play with some toys when we had some toy cars on there. So I don't know about that. But give them some coffee and they're ready to go. Keep it concrete. Deal with what I'm dealing with. Don't make it too complex. And give them some tangible things, some concrete things to do. Hey, make them feel like Hercules. Hey, can you help me set up this table? Can you help me put up these chairs? Make them feel as a part of it. This is what the cafe does. It gives us a chance for reflective listening and listening to their stories. As I said, I call them the X factor. You're the expert with the experience, and allow dads to bring that to the table. Discuss strategies unique to their father, to the father empowers them. Like I said, make it relevant to the struggles that dads feel, because they're like, hey, the struggle is real. So we do a lot, things around child support. We have a program that allows dads to get their child support modified. So that's something they always want to talk about. Or we don't allow them to say, baby mama drama. They have to refer to her as the mother of their child or children. But they have a lot of that drama. So they want to talk about that. And employment, things like all those things that they deal with daily is what they need to know. And the importance of the first session for unstructured time for fathers to talk once again. So we try to do an orientation before we even move into this. Next slide, please. And I think these are some resources. The Fathers and Families Coalition I talked about, I'll put in a couple shameless plugs for them and the National Partnership for Community Leadership. Each will be having their fatherhood conference virtually coming up. I think one's in May and the other's in June. So that NPCL is National Partnership for Community Leadership. We co-hosted 3 of their events, two in Kansas City and 1 in Minneapolis. And so they'll be virtual. So if you go to their websites, that's a good opportunity. National Fatherhood Initiative is where we get a lot of our brochures and posters that I've talked about earlier. And the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse has a lot of other good fatherhood information and videos and tapes, podcasts, all kind of good things. A great resource put on the national level. I want to mention the Fathers and Family Support Center, because we wouldn't be where we are. In St. Louis, Missouri, we have labeled as the best fatherhood project in the nation, ran by Halbert Sullivan and his team, have mentored us in our work since we began. One of the best known. If you reach out to Halbert, they just recently changed from the Father Support Center to the Father and Families, because they realize too, you can't just work with the father in fatherhood. You have to somehow work with father and mother. And this next slide that I close out will show that. So if we can go to the next slide. So when you look at this, can you bring it up just a little so I can, or can they see the last, can you all see the bottom sentence? Is it, it's so important. Is there any way to bring the screen up or move it? It's gonna go. So I believe it says,
I was going to say, maybe, I don't know if she could minimize it a little bit.
Yeah.
But maybe they can on their side.
I can't do it when it's
Okay, so it really says this. So I want you to think of this as, when I've always looked at this, I thought this was Smokey saying, this. Only I can prevent forest fires, because, he's Smokey the Bear, and he's got the shovel and he's got the hat. And maybe Miss Smokey is saying, well, don't you think you should share some of the responsibility? Because, you know, you can't do it alone. But I want you to flip and think of Miss Smokey making the first statement. Because this is what we get, unfortunately, a lot of time from a lot of our moms who's have to do it. You know, only I've done it so long, only I can prevent forest fires. I've had to do this by myself. Smokey's now went to Fatherhood, Dad's Cafe. He's equipped. He got a shovel and this, and he's ready to go to work now. You know, because he done been to fatherhood classes, and we got that from a lot of moms that were happy to say, "What did you do to him?" You know, because now he wants to be that dad. But I just always looked at this as Smokey saying that. But then when I flipped the script, this is what the reality that we get in our fatherhood programs, that it's generally is mom saying, you know, I've done it by myself so long without you. You know, and then he's now asking, well, don't you think you should share some of that responsibility? Well, she's like, I've carried it for so long without you. What do I need you now? So we have to work on mom and then that other grandma, that other gatekeeper who tends to somehow keep dad from being involved. So having said that, the next slide is just contact information. I am done. Thank you so very, very much. Hopefully this has sparked a little passion, purpose, and you can implement some of this in your practice. Back into your capable hands, Ms. Sarita.
So I'm just going to give you guys a moment to just take a screenshot of this or to take a picture, you know, get your phone, use your camera and take a picture of Brian's contact information. I saw some people asking for it. I want to say thank you, Brian, for a fantastic presentation. Does anybody have any questions? We do have a few minutes. So I just want to, if anybody has any questions you want to ask Brian. Brian has been a guest several times with Be Strong Families on some of our Parent Cafe Success Exchange webinars, sharing his keys and his success for engaging dads so successfully. So it's always a treat to have him because I always learn something new every time he comes. So I'm encouraged. If you have any questions for Brian, please go ahead and drop them into the chat. Thank you, Gianna. She said it's a great presentation. She enjoyed it. I love some of the things you said, like, I can't be a father. It's hard for a guy to be a father until he becomes a man. Absolutely love that one. Oh man, it was some good nuggets here. They're all saying they really enjoyed it. Any questions, you can go ahead. We're gonna keep moving, but if you have any questions, go ahead and we'll get to them before we close out. So just want to remind everybody that we have our upcoming webinars, but they are for the rest of the week. Thursday, tomorrow, we have How to Keep Calm with all the ish going on today. And Friday, March 19th, we have Exploring the Relationship Between Educators and Families. And Monday, 22nd, Assessing Our Emotions. Yoli will be back with us. Tuesday, Holistic Protection on the 23rd. And on the 24th, join us for our webinar anniversary. It's a year in review. We've been doing this 1 year since COVID hit, and we thought we should jump in and provide a way for people to stay connected so they wouldn't feel so isolated during COVID. So join us for that. Brian, right quick, we have Johanna said, are there any resources for Spanish-speaking fathers?
Yes, with the National Fatherhood Institute, I believe they do have a lot of their materials. So once again, if you go to that National Fatherhood Institute, you'll see all the diversity of materials that they have, and I believe a lot of them are in Spanish. But we don't have any that we produce, but they do. And it's probably also could be the same with that clearinghouse as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Brian. The Dad's Cafe is also in Spanish, in English and Spanish. And Gianna wants to know, will we get a recording of this webinar? Yes, the recording of the webinar is available. And I think it's added to the website afterwards, Jahira, is that correct?
Yes, it is. And I'll post a link to that.
Fantastic. All right, so guys, remember what we do every day, every webinar. We encourage you to amplify something good happening in your community. This week, share on social media about how to achieve a more perfect union, because that's been our focus. Use the hashtags, use the hashtags, hashtag amplify something. So as we close out today's webinar, drop your amplifies in the chat. You know how we do. Let's go out on a really good positive note. What do you want to amplify from today's session? Also know that in April, we're going to start our Vitality Cafes. And so we're going to change a little bit. So I'm looking forward to that. We're going to talk about how we can live our best lives. Remember to get your mask today. Visit our website and you can get your BSF mask and you with the logo or with these cute butterflies. And we have a lot of great stuff on our website. So check it out. We even have cups now. Love it. Mugs, right? So, and buttons. And I just want to read some of these amplifiers before we get out of here. Elda said, hashtag amplify loving fathers. Thank you, Elda. What happened to the rest of our amplify? We always usually have a bunch of great hashtags at the end of this. And then thank you, Brian. I cannot thank you enough for coming and sharing all of your great work on focus on fatherhood. I've also included into our private Facebook group, so they'll be checking out there. And this is live streaming on YouTube so that lots of people can see how fantastic you are. Thank you for sharing your program with us. Thank you for being here today. And thank you for everybody for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. If you would like to be a presenter or you know somebody that you would like to, think should be here, hook them up with Kathy at Be Strong Families.